Every New Year's Eve, no matter what was going on in our lives, we always found time to talk at midnight. It was the one tradition Jamie and I never broke. No parties, no fireworks, no champagne, just the two of us in a Discord call, usually still in whatever game we'd been grinding all year. This time, it was Apex. Before that, Valheim. Before that, Overwatch. The game changed, but the voice chat didn't. It was a small comfort in the chaos of growing up. We'd met on Reddit, of all places. Some long-dead gaming subreddit, where I made a post about needing a duo partner for some shooter I can't even remember now. He messaged me with, "You're trash, but I like trash. Let's play." And we just clicked. That was 6 years ago. We'd never met in person. We'd never video chatted. I don't know if it was intentional, but we just didn't. Voice was enough. His voice was enough. Deep, slightly gravelly, always calm, no matter how much shit hit the fan in-game. I could recognize it in a heartbeat. And honestly, maybe that was part of why I never pushed for more. It felt safer this way. I didn't have to see the guy I'd developed a years-long crush on. I didn't have to pretend not to notice how my heart raced whenever he said my name. It was easier to stay in this liminal space where things were undefined, unthreatening, unchangeable. But this year, he changed it. It was 11:56 p.m. on December 31st. My lights were off, the only glow coming from my monitor and the RGB of my keyboard. I was sipping flat Coke, crouched behind a digital rock in the game, waiting for Jamie to log in. His name popped up in Discord. Jamie is online. 2 seconds later, the call started ringing. I clicked accept, headset already on. Was starting to think you bailed. Not a chance, he said. You think I'd miss our annual zombie massacre? His voice hit me like it always did. Like I'd been holding my breath for weeks without knowing it. We loaded into the game, laughing like we always did. Easy. Comfortable. We were halfway through arguing about who had more kills when the countdown on my phone started flashing. Almost midnight, I said. Got your speech ready? I'll improvise, he replied. There was a pause. Then I heard a click, and suddenly his camera was on. For a second, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then it hit me. His room, dimly lit, the warm glow of a desk lamp, a soft hoodie pulled over his shoulders. His face, clean-shaven jaw, messy brown hair, deep brown eyes that stared straight into mine through the screen. Happy New Year, he said, smiling. I stared, forgetting to breathe. You gonna turn yours on, or am I just gonna sit here feeling like a creep? My hand hovered over the icon. I hesitated. Then I clicked it. My own face popped up in the little box on the screen, and for the first time in 6 years, Jamie saw me. He smiled again. A real one. The kind that hits you in the gut. There you are, he said, voice softer now. And for the first time in our whole weird friendship, I realized something. This year was going to be different. I wasn't prepared for how different everything would feel. Just from a camera turning on. It was still Jamie, same voice, same dry sarcasm, still cursing every time I missed a shot or stole his loot. But now there was a face to go with it. His face. Every expression, every eye roll, every half smile when I said something dumb. And I could not stop looking at him. It was subtle at first. Just glances to that little video window, pretending I was checking something in the UI. But then I caught myself watching him when he wasn't even talking. Just breathing, chewing his thumbnail, adjusting his hoodie like the fabric was bothering him. He was real now. Real in a way that made my chest feel tight. We kept playing, but we were both a little off. Our timing was a split second late, our callouts sloppy. It was like we'd knocked our rhythm out of sync. I died twice in one match because I kept looking at the camera instead of the game. Jamie noticed. You're distracted, he said. What, finally seeing my pretty face got you all flustered? I gave a weak laugh. Please, I've seen hotter. You liar, he said, grinning, and something about that smile made me look away from the screen. It felt like he could see through me now, like the camera gave him access to something I wasn't ready for. We finished a match, barely winning. The game loaded us back to the main menu, and Jamie leaned back in his chair. I watched as he reached off screen, came back with a water bottle, unscrewed the cap with one hand. I'd never known how much I wanted to see him do the mundane stuff, so he said casually, like we were talking about patch notes, "What made you finally turn it on?" I looked up. "The camera? Yeah, I figured you'd just say no. You usually keep that line pretty firm." I shrugged, trying to play it cool. "Dunno, it's New Year's. Felt like the right time." His eyes held mine. "Yeah?" I nodded, but I was already feeling my face heat up. "Why'd you turn yours on?" "I wanted to see you," he said, simple as that. I froze. There was a slight delay in the call, just enough to give me time to overthink. But he didn't take it back. He didn't laugh or brush it off. I tried to laugh instead. "You see me die in every round, now you wanted to see me blush about it too?" "Maybe," he said, still watching me. I leaned back in my chair, fidgeting with my mouse. My mouth was dry. "We've been doing this for years. Why now?" Jamie exhaled through his nose, not smiling now, just thinking. "I don't know," he said eventually. "Maybe because we don't talk as much anymore." "You've been busier?" I moved. Time zones got annoying. We barely game unless it's a holiday. I nodded, staring at the loading screen. "I guess I didn't want this to be the last time," he added. My head snapped up. "Wait, what?" Jamie looked uncomfortable, rubbing the back of his neck. "Nothing dramatic. I'm not dying or anything. I just mean people drift. We say we'll keep in touch, but we don't. You get a boyfriend. I get busy. Whatever. I didn't want this to be something that just faded out." I felt something lodge in my throat. We sat in silence for a few seconds, our games forgotten. The new match was ready to load, but neither of us clicked. "Ready." "I don't want it to fade either," I said finally. He looked at me again, really looked this time. I felt exposed in a way I hadn't expected from a camera, like my room was too small and his eyes were too much. "You ever think we're doing this backward?" he asked, quiet now. "Most people meet in real life, then game together." I let out a breath. "You want to meet?" He tilted his head, like he was surprised I'd said it out loud. "Yeah, I do." The word hit me like a fist. But not in a bad way. More like something cracked open inside me. Something that had been sealed off for way too long. "Me too," I said. Jamie smiled. "Good, because I was going to suggest it either way." We finally loaded into the next game, but we barely played. We spent more time talking than anything. Dumb little things, favorite snacks, worst drunk stories. That time I thought I saw him on a TikTok and didn't tell him because it would have been weird. It wasn't until almost 3 a.m. that he said, "Can I ask you something kind of serious?" I swallowed. "Yeah." He hesitated, then leaned a little closer to the camera. "Have you ever thought about us being more than this?" I stared at the screen, every part of me going still. Because I had, for years. But I never thought he had. I stared at the screen, blinking at his question like maybe I'd misheard him. Jamie didn't flinch. His expression didn't change. He just looked at me through the camera like he was dead serious, like he'd already been sitting with a question for a while before saying it out loud. "Have I thought about us being more than this?" My voice sounded weird in my own ears. Too quiet. Too careful. Jamie nodded slowly. "Yeah." I leaned back in my chair. My brain was suddenly moving way too fast and way too slow at the same time. All I could think about were the years of late-night calls, the laughs, the low-key flirting I'd written off as just his personality, the way I'd learned his schedule without meaning to, the way I always felt a little off when he didn't message me for a few days. "Yeah," I said. "I have." His eyes flickered, like he wasn't sure if he'd actually get an answer like that. "For how long?" he asked, voice quieter now. I gave a small laugh, not because it was funny, but because there was nothing else I could do with the sudden rush of nerves. "Too long, maybe," he smiled. It wasn't smug. It wasn't a tease. It was this soft, almost vulnerable thing that made my stomach twist. "I thought I was imagining it," he said. "The way we talk. The way we never really needed anyone else in-game. I just figured, I don't know, maybe you were straight. Or just not into that kind of thing? I shook my head, leaning forward. You're the only guy I've ever been this close to. Like, emotionally. He raised an eyebrow. Emotionally? I laughed. Well, yeah. It's hard to have physical anything when we've never even been in the same room. Yet, he said, and the way he said it hit like a sucker punch. The idea of seeing Jamie in person, really seeing him, hit differently now. Not just because he was attractive. He was, unfairly so. But because the connection had always been about more than that. He was the person I messaged when shit hit the fan. The one who knew when I was quiet in Discord that something was wrong. He noticed things. He remembered stuff. He made me feel like I mattered, even in the smallest ways. And now he was looking at me through a screen like he wanted more. Can I say something kind of embarrassing? I asked. He tilted his head, playful. More embarrassing than dying 6 times in one round last week? I flipped him off and he laughed. God, that laugh. I used to wonder what your hands looked like, I said. Jamie blinked. What? You were just a voice for so long. I'd hear you clicking, typing, opening drinks, whatever. I'd imagine your hands. Like, are they calloused? Are your nails short? Dumb shit like that. It made me feel closer to you, I guess. He held his hand up to the camera without a word. It was a little funny and a little devastating at the same time. Here, he said, fingers spread. His nails were short. He had one faint scar across his knuckle, and I found myself memorizing the way his hand looked even though I knew I wouldn't forget it. That's kind of intimate, he said. Yeah, we sat there like that for a moment. Quiet. Just breathing. Then he said, I want to come see you. I blinked. Like, visit? Jamie nodded. I've got time off in a couple weeks. I can fly out. You're in Boston, right? Yeah, but... Wait, are you serious? Why wouldn't I be? I didn't know what to say. The thought of him being here, in my space, sitting on my couch, walking down my street, it didn't even feel real. It felt like a dream I'd talked myself out of wanting too many times. You okay with that? He asked, more gently this time. If it's too much, just say so. No, it's not too much, I said quickly. I want that. I want to see you. I've wanted it for a while. He nodded, then glanced down at something. Probably his phone. It's late, he said, like he'd just remembered what time it was. Shit, it's almost 4. Worth it, I said. Always is, he replied. There was a pause, like neither of us wanted to end the call. You're not going to ghost after this, right? I said, trying to keep it light. Jamie looked at me like I was insane. Dude, I just turned on my camera for the first time in 6 years and told you I've been thinking about you like that. You think I'd ghost now? I laughed. Fair. Another pause. His face softened again. I'll book a flight tomorrow. Jamie booked the flight the next day, a Friday arrival, 2 weeks out. Just enough time for me to panic about everything. I cleaned the apartment like my life depended on it. I deep cleaned the bathroom, reorganized my bookshelves, even bought a new throw pillow for the couch like that would somehow make me seem more put together. Every time I thought about seeing him, really seeing him, I'd go through waves of excitement and a quiet, low-grade panic that whispered, what if it's weird? What if it doesn't feel the same in person? But those thoughts never stuck for long. Mostly, I was just buzzing, constantly. It was like every message from him had a new undercurrent to it, something a little heavier, a little warmer. We still played games at night, still stayed on Discord until 2 a.m. most days. But now there were video calls. Every time. Sometimes we didn't even game. We just talked, or left the cams on while doing our own thing. It was strange how quickly it became normal, seeing his face while I ate cereal or scrolled my phone or zoned out. He'd sometimes watch me sketch and just listen to music, and I'd forget he was even there until I caught him smiling at me through the screen. I noticed little things, like how he tapped his ring finger when he was thinking, or how he drank coffee from the same chipped blue mug every morning. I saw his bed head. He saw mine. It felt like falling for someone I already knew. Then came the travel day. He messaged me from the airport. A selfie in a hoodie, earbuds in, holding up a coffee cup with Jamie misspelled on the side. Jamie, this barista thinks my name is Jamie. Pray for me. Me, tell her it's French. Jama, very sophisticated. Jamie, you're lucky I like you. Me, you're lucky you're hot. His reply was just a smirking emoji, followed by, boarding now. See you in 3 hours. That was the longest 3 hours of my life. I kept pacing, checking the clock, checking the flight status. At some point, I stood in front of the mirror for a solid 15 minutes, debating whether my hair looked better messy or slightly less messy. When the time finally came, I was already standing by arrivals, bouncing my knee like an idiot. People streamed out with suitcases and sleepy expressions. And then I saw him. No webcam, no screen, just him, walking toward me in real life, dragging a small black suitcase and scanning the crowd. My heart skipped so hard it felt like it glitched. Jamie, I said, just loud enough to catch his attention. He turned, his whole face lit up. It was the same smile I'd seen 100 times on camera, but it felt different now, bigger, warmer. And then he was hugging me, not a bro hug, not a side pat, a real hug, full chest to chest, arms tight around me like we were already something more. I froze for a second, not because I didn't want it, but because my brain couldn't catch up to the fact that it was happening. I hugged him back. He smelled like travel and cedar-scented shampoo. He felt solid and warm and real. When we pulled back, we both laughed in that slightly awkward, adrenaline-filled way people do when something surreal finally turns into reality. Hey, he said, voice softer in person but just as familiar. Hey. We stood there for a second longer, still kind of in the middle of the airport. This is weird, I said. It is, he agreed, but like, good weird. Yeah. I was worried, he said, grabbing his bag handle again, that maybe it wouldn't feel the same. Does it? He looked at me. Feels better. We caught an Uber back to my place, and the whole ride we kept sneaking glances at each other, not talking much. Just sitting in the silence that didn't feel awkward at all. Just full. At my apartment, he looked around as I gave him the world's most half-assed tour. It wasn't much. Just a one-bedroom with decent lighting, and a couch that doubled as my crash zone for lazy weekends. This is where the magic happens, huh? He said, plopping onto the couch like he owned the place. If by magic you mean excessive DoorDash and gaming-induced back pain, then yes. Jamie grinned and leaned back, stretching his arms behind his head. Honestly, I've imagined this place so many times I feel like I've already been here. I sat next to him, the edge of our knees barely touching. He turned toward me. You know what I haven't imagined? What? This, he said, and before I could ask what he meant, he leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't even that intense. It was just real. His lips were soft, a little chapped. His hand slid up to my jaw, thumb brushing along my cheek like he'd been waiting to do that forever. I kissed him back, and suddenly, 6 years of late-night calls, subtle jokes, quiet pining, all of it made sense. This was always going to happen. When we finally pulled apart, it wasn't dramatic. We didn't gasp or smile or say something clever. We just looked at each other like we both knew we'd crossed some invisible line we'd been circling for years, and neither of us wanted to go back. Jamie's hand was still on my jaw, thumb resting just below my cheekbone. His forehead almost touched mine. I could feel the quiet thrum of his breath. So, he said softly, that was okay? I snorted under my breath. You just kissed me in my living room after 6 years of unresolved tension. Yeah, that was very okay. His mouth twitched like he was holding back a smile. Just checking. I leaned back against the couch, still a little dazed. So, what now? Do we act normal, or are we officially in the everything has changed phase? Jamie laughed, the sound low and genuine. Let's just hang out, see what happens. So we did. The first few hours were surprisingly chill. We ordered Thai food, sat side by side on the couch, and watched the same dumb YouTube channels we always shared over links in chat. But this time, his thigh brushed mine. This time, when he passed me the remote, our fingers lingered. And this time, he fell asleep with his head on my shoulder somewhere around midnight. I didn't move. I barely breathed. He snored, softly, one of those little fluttery exhales that made his lips part just slightly. His hair was messy again, and I was hit with this weird rush of gratitude for webcams, for midnight calls, for whatever twisted series of coincidences led me to post on Reddit 6 years ago. When he stirred, maybe 20 minutes later, he blinked at me like he forgot where he was. Then he smiled, sleep-drunk and soft. "Hey," he mumbled. "Hey," I said. "You dozed off on me." "Jet lag," he said, yawning. "Also, your shoulder's weirdly comfortable." "Thanks?" He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "I should probably crash." I nodded. "You want the bed or the couch?" He looked at me like I just asked him whether he wanted to move to Mars. "I'm not sleeping on the couch after that kiss." I felt my pulse skip. So that night, Jamie slept in my bed. With me. Nothing happened. Not like that. We were both tired. But we lay there, face to face, knees bumping under the blanket, laughing quietly about nothing. And eventually, we just fell asleep. I woke up around 4 a.m. The room was dark. My body was warm. Jamie was curled toward me, one arm across my waist, breath slow and even against the back of my neck. I didn't move. I couldn't. Because for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't want to be anywhere else. The next morning was the kind of easy I didn't know I could have with someone. We made pancakes like we'd done it 100 times. Jamie found my old Bluetooth speaker and started blasting some chill lo-fi playlist while I burned half the first batch. He didn't complain, just scraped off the worst parts and kept eating. "You're a trash chef," he said, mouth full. "And yet you're still eating," I replied. He shrugged. "Because I'm polite." Later, we went out for a walk. It was cold. Late January in Boston, kind of cold. But the sun was out, and Jamie insisted he wanted to see the neighborhood I've imagined for years. He didn't let go of my hand once. We didn't talk about what this was yet. No labels. No DTR define the relationship conversation. But the way he kept brushing his thumb over mine while we walked said enough. We passed a few shops, grabbed coffee, and ended up sitting at the park bench just down the street from my building, sipping warm drinks and watching a kid try to sled on a patch of barely there snow. Jamie nudged me with his shoulder. "So, want to know something kind of stupid?" "Always." "That first year we did a New Year's call," he said, staring straight ahead. "I thought about turning my cam on, like I almost did. Had it hovering over the button and everything." I turned toward him. "Why didn't you?" He shrugged. "I don't know. I think I was scared it would change something. Like if you saw me and didn't feel the same way, maybe we'd lose what we had." I was quiet for a second. "Funny," I said finally. "I thought the exact same thing." Jamie smiled, turning toward me. "I'm glad we waited, though." "Yeah?" "Yeah. Now I don't just want you as my duo partner or my New Year's tradition." He leaned in. "I want you." He kissed me again. Right there on the park bench. Coffee steaming between us. Wind nipping at our cheeks. It was bold. Public. Honest. And I kissed him back. Because I wanted him too. The days blurred in the best way possible. Jamie was supposed to stay for a long weekend. 3 nights, maybe 4. He ended up staying 10. He moved around my apartment like he'd lived there for years, borrowed my hoodie, took over the left side of the bed, used the same mug every morning and left his socks on the floor, which normally would have annoyed the hell out of me. But somehow, I didn't mind. It felt like we'd just skipped the awkward phase entirely. Still, there were moments, quiet pauses in conversation where something hovered between us, unspoken. We hadn't talked about what happened after he left, what we were doing, what we were. It was like we were both holding our breath, afraid that if we said the wrong thing, this little bubble we were living in would pop. On his 8th day here, we stayed up late again. Too late. We weren't gaming, just laying on the couch, half watching some terrible sci-fi movie with bad CGI and too many explosions. Jamie's head was on my chest, my fingers trailing through his hair without thinking. His phone buzzed, face down on the coffee table. He ignored it. "Someone important?" I asked, not accusing, just curious. He sighed. My friend Jake. He keeps asking when I'm coming back. I didn't say anything. Work's waiting too, he added. Still nothing from me. He tilted his head up to look at me. Hey, yeah? You good? I looked down at him. Yeah, I'm good. Because you've gone quiet. And I know you're quiet. I'm overthinking every possible scenario and spiraling internally. Quiet? I smiled weakly. That obvious, huh? Jamie sat up, shifting to face me more directly. What's going on? I hesitated. Then I just said it. I don't want you to leave. His eyes softened. I don't want to leave. But you have to. He nodded slowly. Yeah. Silence. I'm scared, I admitted. That this will just be a really good week. That you'll go home, and we'll go back to calls and games, and pretending like this didn't mean anything. Jamie frowned, not in frustration, but in that concentrated way he gets when he's thinking something through carefully. I don't want to pretend, he said. I'm not going to go back to just voice chat and small talk and hoping you pick up on the hints. I'm here. I'm with you. And I don't want to stop being with you just because I get on a plane. I looked at him, something pressing behind my ribs. So what do we do? He smiled, a little sad. We figure it out, I exhaled, leaning back. Long distance? Jamie shrugged. Maybe, or maybe you visit me next. Or maybe I come back in a few weeks. Or maybe, he hesitated. Maybe what? I could find work remote. I've already been thinking about it. I stared at him. Are you serious? He nodded. I don't want this to be temporary. I swallowed hard. You're the first person I've ever felt this way about. Same, he said, without missing a beat. The next day, we made pancakes again. Then we did laundry together. Then we sat on my floor for 2 hours, trying to figure out how many flights between Boston and Chicago were cheap enough to sustain whatever this was becoming. We didn't solve everything, but we agreed on this. We'd keep talking, keep calling, keep video on. No more hiding behind mics and keyboards. And on the night before he left, we made a new tradition. Next New Year, Jamie said, curling up beside me in bed, we spend it together. No Discord, no webcam, just us. I smiled. Deal. Maybe we even go somewhere cool, he added, like a cabin in the snow or a beach or, hell, I don't know. As long as it's you and me, I don't care where. And as I drifted off to sleep, I realized something simple and quiet and solid. This wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. I still remember the way the airport smelled the day Jamie left. That weird mix of overused floor cleaner, travel stress sweat, and overpriced Starbucks. It was like every departure I'd ever experienced had condensed into one moment. We didn't cry. We didn't do the whole dramatic last kiss before the gate thing either. We hugged long and hard, promised to talk that night, and then he was gone. But this time, we kept that promise. Every night. Every single one. Some nights we only talked for 10 minutes. Others, we fell asleep on video call, laptop still open, mic still hot. He'd be on his side, half lit by his desk lamp, whispering about some random shit his coworker said while I brushed my teeth off screen. And every time midnight hit, no matter what day, no matter what mood, we paused just for a second and said the same thing. Still here. It became our thing. A little reminder that we were doing it. That we hadn't let it fade. That was a year ago. Now it's New Year's Eve again. Jamie standing in my kitchen, barefoot, pouring champagne like he's done it 100 times. He's wearing the hoodie I stole from him last summer, which he only got back because he came to visit for 2 weeks and forgot to book his return flight. That visit turned into a month. Then 2. Now he just lives here. We never had a formal conversation about it. One day there was just more of his stuff in my drawers than mine, and he started paying for half the rent, and we stopped saying things like, your place and my place. It's just home now. He walks over and hands me a glass, his fingers brushing mine. You ready? Always. We sit on the couch. TV, counting down from 30. Some overly tanned host in Times Square yelling over the crowd. Jamie looks at me, not the screen. You remember last year? I nod, smiling. Yeah. You were so nervous when I turned the cam on. I laugh. You would be too if the guy you'd been crushing on for 6 years suddenly had a jawline. He grins. You're ridiculous. Only a little. He leans closer, pressing a soft kiss to my cheek, then my jaw, then finally my mouth. Not rushed, just familiar, comfortable, right. The countdown reaches 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The city explodes in sound outside. Fireworks, cheering, distant horns. But in our apartment, it's quiet, except for him. He whispers, "Still here." I whisper back, "Still here." And then he pulls out his phone, opens Discord, and starts a voice call. "What are you doing?" I laugh. He holds it up between us like a ceremonial artifact. Tradition. On the screen, our two profile icons sit side by side in a voice channel we haven't used in months. Jamie grins. "Happy New Year, duo." I shake my head, heart full. "Happy New Year." We clink glasses. We kiss again. And this time, when the clock resets and a new year begins, we're not on opposite sides of a screen. We're together. No more webcams. No more wondering. Just two guys, two glasses of champagne, and a tradition that somehow turned into love.